Jwwilliams have been proudly serving the people of this community since 1918. Service is our motto. The poor, the rich, the middle class and all are given the best of care and attention at all times. You have the privilege to select what you want. In your time of need, contact the capable, the competent, and the dependable staff of the Jwwilliams Funeral Home who is genuinely concerned with your care. At Jwwilliams Funeral Home, you are aptly served by the proprietor president, Deacon Arthur L. Parker, who continues the traditions and values set forth by the past president, Dr. Napoleon Williams. Your announcers for the Jwwilliams Funeral Home Sunday morning program are Deacon Arthur L. Parker, Reverend Isaac H. Owens, Mrs. Calandra Wilkerson Parker, Minister Frankie Harmon, Ms. Sandra Johnson, and Deacon Earl Clark, Jr.
Thank you, and good morning, friends. We come to you this morning to bring announcements, dedications, and songs. We certainly hope that your day may be brighter after listening to our program. The family of Mr. Roderick Terrell Chambliss Sr. of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Miss Jana Denise Leggett of Lilly, Georgia, would like to thank their many friends for the food, the flowers, the condolences, and all other expressions of sympathy and kindness shown to them during their hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. Mr. Roderick Terrell Chambliss Sr., age 52, of 306 West 25th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Tuesday, February 25th, at the residence of his beloved mother. The funeral service for Mr. Roderick Terrell Chambliss Sr., age 52, was held Sunday, March 2nd, in the chapel of the Jwwilliams Funeral Home in Cordele, Georgia. The Reverend Isaac H. Owens, pastor of the Mount Calvary Baptist Church, officiated. The burial followed at the Sunnyside Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted mother, Ms. Frances Parker Chambliss of Cordele, Georgia, his loving and devoted children, Mrs. Rodrika Morgan and her husband, Stadivian Morgan of Byron, Georgia, Ms. Natrices Chambliss of Albany, Georgia, Mr. Roderick T. Chambliss Jr. of Arizona, Ms. Jahara Huffins, United States Army of Arizona, his beloved grandchildren, Kennedy, Harmony, Iman, Morgan, and Cameron Edmond, a beloved and devoted sister, Miss Sharon Chambliss of Cordele, Georgia, his beloved brothers, Mr. David Chambliss Jr., Mr. Willie Chambliss and his wife, Mrs. Sandra Chambliss, Mr. James Chambliss and his wife, Mrs. Kathy Chambliss, Mr. Christopher Chambliss Sr. and his wife, Mrs. Shalitha Chambliss, all of Cordele, Georgia, Mr. Alvin Finn and Mr. Jonathan Finn of Atlanta, Georgia, his beloved aunts and uncles, Miss Sarah Fletcher of Miami, Florida, Mr. Patrick Parker and his wife, Mrs. Maxine Parker of Waycross, Georgia, and Miss Sharon Parker of Sarasota, Florida, his beloved and caring companion, Miss Keisha Brown Georgia. A host of beloved nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends, including his Chris County High School class of 1990, survived Mr. Roderick Terrell Chambliss Sr., age 52, of 306 West 25th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia. Miss Jana Denise Leggett, age 58, of 2897 Lily Road, Vienna, Georgia, died Monday, March 3rd, at the Emory University Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. The funeral service for Miss Jana Denise Leggett, age 58, was held Saturday, March 8th, in the sanctuary of the Turkey Creek Baptist Church in Lily, Georgia. The Reverend Coley Clark Jr. officiated. The burial followed at the Little Poplar Springs Baptist Church Cemetery in Byronville, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Mr. Jamaris Sanders of Vienna, Georgia, Miss Tamisha Sanders of McDonald, Georgia, and her husband, Mr. Reginald Lively, Miss Jantoria Sanders of Vienna, Georgia, her cherished and adored grandchildren, Jamaris Lester, Janaris Sanders of Unadilla, Georgia, and Nyla J. Lively of McDonald, Georgia, her beloved and devoted sisters, Miss Shadrick Royal and her husband, Mr. Rico Royal of Perry, Georgia, Miss Shadika Sanders and her husband, Mr. Salathian Turner, and Miss Elizabeth Stubbins, all of Vienna, Georgia, Miss Shonda Sutton of Jacksonville, Florida, a beloved brother, Mr. Jumar Sanders, and his wife, Mrs. Michelle Sanders of Vienna, Georgia, a beloved uncle, Mr. Jimmy Sanders, and his wife, Mrs. Patty Sanders of Cordele, Georgia, a beloved aunt, Miss Mary Stevens of Belglade, Florida, a dear friend, Mr. Lorenzo Woodson of Vienna, Georgia, a host of devoted nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survived Miss Jana Denise Leggett, age 58, of 2897 Lily Road, Vienna, Georgia. Again, the family of Mr. Roderick Terrell Chambliss Sr. of Cordele, Georgia, the family of Miss Jana Denise Leggett of Vienna, Georgia, would like to thank their many friends for all of the many kindnesses shown to them during their hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. May God bless each of you is their prayer. Serving Cordele and Vienna were in charge of each of these arrangements during the past week. And now, it is certainly with the deepest regret that we make the following announcement. Minister now Eugene Yerby, Senior, age 57, of 114 Melody Lane, Americus, Georgia, died Monday, March 3rd, at the Phoebe Sumter Medical Center in Americus, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted wife, Mrs. Alice M. Walton Yerby of Americus, Georgia, a beloved and devoted son, Mr. Niall E. Yerby, Jr. of Americus, Georgia, his devoted daughters, Mr. Taria Jackson of Washington, D.C., and Ms. Jaquiz J. Yerby of Americus, Georgia, his beloved grandchildren, Mr. Elijah Jackson and Miss Skylar Jackson of Washington, D.C., a beloved and devoted sister, Miss Stacy D. Yerby of Perry, Georgia, his beloved uncles, Mr. Tom Yerby, Jr. of Americus, Georgia, and Mr. Robert Sneed and his wife, Mrs. Frances Sneed, a host of beloved cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive Minister Niall Eugene Yerby, Senior, age 57, of 114 Melody Lane, Americus, Georgia. The funeral service for Minister Niall Eugene Yerby, Senior, age 57, will be held today, Sunday, March 9th, at 1 p.m. in the sanctuary of the Americas Holiness Deliverance Temple in Americus, Georgia. The pastor, Reverend Michael L. Fowler, Sr., will officiate. The burial will follow at the Eastview Cemetery in Americus, Georgia. Mr. Lee Arthur Everett, age 65, of 313 West 22nd Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Saturday, February 22nd at his residence in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted children, Miss Nakia Everett and Miss Nakedra Everett, both of Cordele, Georgia, Miss Lakeisha Payne of Texas, 16 beloved grandchildren, 6 great-grandchildren, his beloved and devoted sisters, Miss Eloise Quarterman and Miss Mary Bryant and her husband, Mr. Eddie Bryant of Cordele, Georgia, his beloved brothers, Mr. Cedric Quarterman and Mr. Arthur Lee Quarterman of Cordele, Georgia, a beloved aunt, Miss Rhoda Felton of Milledgeville, Georgia, a beloved uncle, Mr. Elijah Smith of Fort Pierce, Florida, a host of beloved nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends, to include a dear friend, Miss Amanda Searcy of Cordele, Georgia, survived Mr. Lee Arthur Everett, age 65, of 313 West 22nd Avenue, Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Lee Arthur Everett, age 65, will be held today, Sunday, March 9th, at 4 p.m. in the chapel of the Jwwilliams Funeral Home in Cordele, Georgia. The Reverend Isaac H. Owens, pastor of the Mount Calvary Baptist Church, will officiate. Miss Benita Lynn Cross, age 64, 412 West 19th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Sunday, March 2nd, at her residence in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Miss Cindy Farmer of Cordele, Georgia, and Miss Brandy Farmer and her husband, Mr. Andrew Farmer of Atlanta, Georgia. 6 beloved grandchildren, 6 great-grandchildren, her beloved brothers, Mr. Larry Cross and his wife, Mrs. Deborah Cross of Cordele, Georgia, Mr. Jefferson Cross and his wife, Mrs. Marilyn Cross of Leslie, Georgia, Mr. Harvey Gregory and Mr. Darrell Cross, a host of beloved nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Miss Benita Lynn Cross, age 64, 412 West 19th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Miss Benita Lynn Cross, age 64, will be announced at a later date pending the completion of the arrangements. Deacon Charles Clark, age 62, 143 Russell Street, Warwick, Georgia, died late Saturday night, March 8th, at the Phoebe Putnam Memorial Hospital in Albany, Georgia. Survivors include a beloved wife, Mrs. Linda Clark of Warwick, Georgia, 1 beloved sister, Mrs. Brenda Jones of Warwick, Georgia, 2 beloved brothers, Mr. Jerry Clark and Mr. Willie Clark, and a host of other relatives and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Deacon Charles Clark, age 62, 143 Russell Street, Warwick, Georgia. The funeral service for Deacon Charles Clark, age 62, will be announced at a later date pending the completion of the arrangements. The Jwwilliams funeral directors serving Cordele and Vienna are in charge of each of these arrangements during this week. Friends, that conclude our funeral notices for this morning. And as always, we do remind each of you concerning our pre-funeral arrangements planning available at the Jwwilliams Funeral Home, with packages available with a single pay, a 3-year pay, a 5-year pay, and a 10-year pay. So please stop by and talk with us concerning your pre-funeral arrangements needs available at the Jwwilliams Funeral Home. And our life insurance is available at the Jwwilliams Funeral Home.
And now for announcements. The Lebanon Baptist Church of Vienna will climax the anniversary of its beloved pastor, Reverend Richard Hayes, today, Sunday, March 9th. At 2:30 p.m., Elder Johnny Mason of the Ark of God Church of Cordele will be the guest speaker. Sister Aurelia Oliver is secretary. Deacon Harry Carter is chairman of deacons. Reverend Richard Hayes is the pastor. The New Poplar Spring Baptist Church Annual Family and Friends Day will be observed today. Service begins at 9:45 a.m. New Poplar Spring invites everyone to worship with them each Sunday at 9:45 a.m., each Wednesday via conference call at 6:30 a.m. for morning prayer, and at 7 p.m. for an hour of encouragement. The dial-in number is 253-993-3761. Pastor Teacher Johnny Dean is the pastor. The Mount Moriah Baptist Church of Unadilla will celebrate the 122nd Mission Department anniversary on Sunday, March 16th. At 1:30 p.m., Dr. Dwayne Daniels and the Beulah Baptist Church will be the guest church. Dinner will be served. Sister Linda Ann Jordan, Mission President, Deacon Earl Jordan, Chairman of Deacons, Reverend Edward Lester is the pastor. Evangelistic Tabernacle Family Outreach Center, Vienna, 2025 Spring Revival will begin on Wednesday, March 19th through Friday, March 21st at 7:30 p.m. Bishop Greg Booker of Deliverance Center World Outreach Ministry of Detroit, Michigan will be the revivalist. Everyone is cordially invited to attend. Bishop and Mrs. Arthur West, pastor. The New Beulah Baptist Church of Lee County Annual Mission and Usher Anniversary will be on Sunday, March 16th. At 10 o'clock a.m., Reverend Roderick Hubbard Jr. of Albany, Georgia, will be the guest minister. The unity color is white. Sister Rosemary Jones, secretary. Deacon Bobby Robinson Jr., chairman of deacons. Reverend Christopher Perry is the pastor. The Old Corinth Baptist Church of Leslie Annual Family and Friends Day will be observed on Sunday, March 16th at 10 a.m. Everyone is invited to attend. Deacon Eldridge Mercer is chairman of deacons. Dr. C.L. McKinstry is the pastor. The St. John Baptist Church of Leslie Mission and Usher program will be on Sunday, March 16th at 10 o'clock a.m. Guest speakers are Minister Michael Cunningham of Friendship Baptist Church and Pastor Lorenzo Mullins of the Antioch Baptist Church. Deacon Arthur Dariso, chairman of deacons. Reverend Calvin James is the pastor. The New Union Grove Baptist Church of America's 140th church anniversary and the 12th anniversary of its pastor, Reverend Matthias Wright Jr., will be observed on Sunday, March 23rd at 11 a.m. The Welcome Baptist Church and Pastor Reverend Tommy Law will be in charge of the services. Unity colors are purple and white. Dinner will be served. Reverend Matthias Wright Jr. is the pastor. The Big Bethel Baptist Church of Americas will host the Albany State University Community Needs Assessment and Focus Group for Sumter County on Thursday, April 17th at 6 o'clock p.m. Topic of discussion, technology resources and education questions. For more information, contact Dr. K.B. Edie, Community Organizer at 229-881-5763. Again, that number is 229-881-5763. The Union Baptist Church of Montezuma Revival Service will be on Tuesday, April 22nd through Thursday, April 24th at 7 o'clock p.m. Reverend Luther Barnes, gospel singer and pastor of Restoration Worship Center, Rocky Mount, North Carolina, will be the revivalist. Pastor Donald Walker is the pastor. The Shady Grove Baptist Church of Cordele Family and Friends Day will be observed today, Sunday, March 9th at 11 a.m. Minister Lee Wright III of Americas will be the speaker. Sister Shawana Davis is church secretary. Deacon Sammy Mumphrey is chairman of deacons. Reverend Kelvin E. Drake Sr. is the pastor. The New Oak Grove Baptist Church 85th church anniversary and dedication ceremony in honor of the late Deacon James Beal Jr. will be Sunday, March 16th at 10 a.m. Reverend W.E. Lockett will deliver the anniversary sermon along with the Greater Pines Church of Albany, Georgia. Deacon Alonzo Jones is chairman of deacons. Reverend W.W. Wilson is the pastor. The Piney Grove Baptist Church will celebrate the 45th anniversary of the pastor, Reverend Jesse Watts, and the 160th anniversary of the church on Sunday, March 16th. Morning worship at 10:30 a.m. with the Piney Grove and St. Paul Baptist churches in charge of the service. Reverend Willie Green will deliver the message. The afternoon service will begin at 1:30 p.m. with the following churches in charge: Crossroad, Spring Hill, Zion Hope, Mount Bethel, Old Shady Grove, Macedonia, Shady Grove CME. Reverend John Thomas will deliver the sermon. Sister Dorothy Bryant is the secretary. Deacon Nathaniel Roddy is the chairman of deacons. Reverend Jesse Watts is the pastor. The Spring Hill Baptist Church, Cannon Road, Cordele Men and Women Night will be Wednesday, March 19th, where Dr. Ruby Jackson will be the speaker, and Thursday, March 20th, where Reverend Isaac Owens will be the speaker. The services will begin at 7 p.m. each night. Mother Lily Mathis is the church mother. Deacon Eddie Byron is the chairman of deacons. The Jwwwilliams Baptist Church will celebrate the 95th church anniversary and the 9th anniversary of the pastor, Dr. Dwayne Daniels. On program Tuesday, March 19th, will be Pastor Veronica Smith of the Bethel CME Church, Cordele. Wednesday, March 20th, Minister Annette Clark of New Proviso Church, Albany. And Thursday, March 21st, Dr. Deanne Holsley of the Jerusalem Baptist Church, Ellerville. The services will be at 7 p.m. each night. The anniversary will climax on Sunday, March 23rd at 2:30 p.m. Pastor Sharon Homer of Great Chapel AME Church, Macon, will be the speaker. Food will be served before the service from 1:15 p.m. until 2:15 p.m. There will be no morning service. For more information, please call 478-361-0464 or email at minerva.daniels, that's MANERVA.Daniels@gmail.com. Deacon Willie Smith is the chairman of deacons. Minister Minerva Daniels is the assistant pastor. Dr. Dwayne L. Daniels is the pastor. The Mount Olive Baptist Church of Warwick Family and Friends Day celebration will be Sunday, April 6th at 10 a.m. Everyone is cordially invited to attend. Refreshments will be served. Mother Willie Mae Walker, church mother. Deacon Lindbergh Williams, Jr., chairman of deacons. Bishop Jerome Milton is the pastor. You're cordially invited to worship at the Greater Mars Tabernacle Baptist Church today. Sunday school at 9 o'clock a.m., morning worship at 9:30 a.m. Mother Mary Henderson is the church mother. Deacon Arthur L. Parker is the chairman of deacons. Dr. K.M. Williams is the pastor. The Mount Zion First African Baptist Church invites everyone to worship with them during their worship service at 11 o'clock a.m. Deacon Joe Wedges is the chairman of deacons. Dr. Dan James III is the pastor. You're cordially invited to worship at the Gethsemane Baptist Church today. Worship service begins at 10:30 a.m. Deacon Johnny Wilson, chairman of deacons. Reverend Cecil Schroeder is the pastor. The Gum Creek Baptist Church invites everyone to worship with them today. Worship service begins at 10:30 a.m. Mother Norma Solomon, church mother. Deacon Zachary Fields, chairman of deacons. Reverend Joseph Hagerbrook is the pastor. You're cordially invited to worship at the Zion Hope Baptist Church today. Worship Sunday school begins at 10:30 a.m. Worship service at 11:30 a.m. Deacon Xavier Bryant Sr. is the chairman of deacons. Reverend Willie James Felton is the pastor. The Emmanuel Baptist Church invites everyone to worship with them today. Sunday school at 10 o'clock a.m. Worship service at 11:15 a.m. Bible study is held each Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Mother William McGill, church mother. Reverend Gregory Williams is the pastor. You're cordially invited to worship at the Mount Calvary Baptist Church today. Sunday school at 9:30 a.m. Morning worship at 10:45 a.m. The Mount Calvary Baptist Church extends a cordial invitation for everyone to worship with them during this annual church anniversary, which will be on Sunday, March 16th, during the morning worship service. Reverend Christopher Williams will be the guest minister. Everyone is cordially invited to attend. Sister Carrie Holmes, anniversary chair lady. Deacon Leon Spears, chairman of deacons. Reverend Isaac H. Owens is the pastor. All members of the Cordial Christ branch of the NAACP are reminded of our regular monthly meeting, which will be held this afternoon at 5 o'clock p.m. at the Brown Chapel Church. Everyone is cordially invited. Those interested in becoming members are invited to come and be a part of the meeting this afternoon at 5 o'clock p.m. Ms. Ms. Kathy McGill, branch secretary. Reverend Isaac H. Owens is the pastor. That concludes our announcements for this morning.
And now for dedication. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following: in loving memory of Mrs. Sheila Jones Harris, who would have celebrated her birthday March 3rd. Dedication requested by her beloved family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mrs. Valerie Fuller King, who departed, dedication requested by Mrs. Annette Stembridge and Miss Carolyn Holloman, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mother Ida Bell Patrick, who would have celebrated her birthday March 7th, dedication requested by the Patrick and Wellens family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mrs. Jewel Putman, dedication requested by her beloved family. In loving memory of Commissioner H.H. Demery, who would have celebrated his birthday March 9th, dedication requested by the Demery family. In loving memory of Mother Alberta Green, who would have celebrated her birthday March 9th, dedication requested by the Green family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mother Eliza Daphne, who would have celebrated her birthday March 10th, dedication requested by the Daphne family. In loving memory of Mr. Larry Jones, dedication requested by his beloved sister, Mrs. Dorothy Rose Jones, his nieces, nephews, and the entire family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mr. Curtis Weaver, who would have celebrated his birthday March 11th, dedication requested by his beloved daughter, Mrs. Minnie Jackson, and the entire family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mr. Charlie Lofton, who would have celebrated his birthday March 11th, dedication requested by his beloved wife, Miss Ola Lofton, and the entire family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mr. John Lee Colson, who would have celebrated his birthday March 11th, dedication requested by the Colson and Dennis family. Precious memory lingers still. In loving memory of Mrs. Carrie Wellens, who would have celebrated her birthday March 9th, dedication requested by the Wellens and Patrick family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mrs. DeHavier Kenise Wilson, who departed this life March 11, 2022, dedication requested by her beloved parents, her children, grandchildren, her siblings, and the entire Wilson and Kendrick families, gone but not forgotten. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following. Happy birthday to Miss Gloria Jones, who celebrated her birthday Thursday, March 6th. Dedication requested by her children, grandchildren, and the entire Jones family. Happy birthday to Mrs. Carol Dydale, who will celebrate her birthday Monday, March 10th. Dedication requested by her beloved family. Happy birthday to the Reverend Donnie Ray Hall and his twin sister, Mrs. Bunny Morris, who will celebrate their birthday Monday, March 10th. Dedication requested by their beloved family. Happy birthday to Deaconess Carrie Brooks, who will celebrate her birthday March 11th. Dedication requested by her beloved children, grandchildren, and the entire family. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following: Deacon James Smith and family, Deacon George Jordan and family, and his son, Deacon Jerome Jordan of Vienna, Georgia, Mr. A.J. and Mother Vera Rivers and family, Deacon Willie James Patrick and family, Mother Willie Mae Walker and family, Warwick, Georgia, Mrs. Lucille Baker, Deacon and Mrs. Jimmy Fagan and family, Mrs. Gail Grant and family, and the entire Fagan family. Mother Elizabeth Waters, retired educator of the Chris County School System. Mother Willie Mae Leary and family of Hatley, Georgia. Mother Martha Westbrook and family. Mr. Freddie and Mrs. Bernice Pittman and family. The Reverend Willie Green and the members of the Forest Chapel Baptist Church of Pinehurst, Georgia. Ms. Dorothy Bryant and family. Deaconess Martha A. Cross and family. Deacon Willie Smith and family. Deacon Curtis Lucas Jr. and family. Mother Diane Flood and family. Miss Willie Mae Craft and family. Deacon James and Dr. Elizabeth Maddox and family. Their mother. Mother Eddie Mae Graper and family. Mother Adeline Lofton, church mother of the Little Rock Baptist Church of Araby, Georgia. Bishop Dr. Arthur and Elder Lorraine West and family. Mr. George Gaines and family. Miss Gail Patrick and family. Miss Rita Patrick and family. Miss Mary Lee Harris and family. Elder and Mrs. L.C. Cantrell and family. Mrs. Jackie Walker and family. Miss Janice Montfrey and family. Mr. Ricky and Cordell City Manager Angela Redding and family. Mother Mary Henderson and family. Mrs. Ida Ruth Bryant and family. Mr. Willie Frank Walker and family. Mr. Lawrence Stokes and family. Mr. Lemmy Buckles and family. Miss Karen L. Holmes and family. Mr. Keith Muntz and family of Americus, Georgia. The Reverend Woody and Mrs. Patricia Barnum and the members of the St. King Baptist Church. Miss Patricia Horn and family. Mrs. Edith Holmes Wilson and family. Mr. John and Mrs. Mashonda Holmes and family. Mrs. Donna Patterson and family. Mrs. Melody Patterson and family. Miss Marilyn Ray Hopper and family. Mr. Alfred Hopper Jr. and family. Ms. Martha Huffins and family. Mrs. Deborah Hopper and family. Mother Louise Parker Royal and family. Mrs. Minnie Hopper and family. Mrs. Julia Hopper and family. Mr. James and Miss Gayla Bleach and family. Mr. Arthur and Mrs. Maddie Polk and family. Mr. Elder Clarence and Mrs. Annie Johnson and family. Mr. Larry Applin and family. Miss Jackie Williamson and family. Mr. Jack Reynolds and family. Mr. Willie Blunt and family. Mr. Louis Sanders and family. Mrs. Shaquita Sanders and family. Mrs. Dorothy Reed and family. Miss Daquita Sanders and family. Mr. Curtis Williams and family. Mr. Keith and Mrs. Amanda Ford and family. Mrs. Bernice Rutherford and family. Mr. Silence and Mrs. Doretha Didale and family. Members of the Big Bethel Baptist Church. Mr. Jake Reese and family. The Patrick family. Miss Janice Bush and family. The Perry family. Our first selection for this morning. next election this morning is dedicated to the following: to Mr. Kelvin Pless of Americus, Georgia, for presenting our program Music this morning with the Merrill Gospel Workshop. Our first election goes out to Mr. Simon Felden family, Mrs. Johnny Bell Sanders and family, the Reverend and Mrs. Keith Lewis and family, the children of the late Mother Sally Taylor of Vienna, Georgia, Mr. and Mrs. George Reichert and family, Mrs. Joe Black and the entire Black family of Vienna, Georgia, Mrs. Pamela Law and family, Mr. Harvey C. and family, Mrs. Mother Blottie Bill and family, Mrs. Maddie West and family, Mr. and Mrs. John Leroy Perry and family, Mrs. Ethel Perry and family, and the entire Perry family, the Cantrell family, the Harvard family, Mother Sally Morrell and family, and the entire Morrell family, Mrs. Marion Felton and family, Mrs. Bobby Jean Vandrew and family, Miss Christine Kingdom and family, Mr. and Mrs. Pernell Lakeler and family, Dr. and Mrs. Thaddeus Lakeler and family, Mrs. Dorothy Lamar and family, the family of the late Deacon Willie C. Kendrick, Miss Cleo Hagerbrook family, Mrs. Placentia Woodson and family, Miss Rosa Cooper and family, Miss Lily Mae Perry and family, the Mike Hamilton family of Lilly, Georgia, Mr. and Mrs. Emerson London family, the Granville family, Mrs. Arthur Lawson and family, Mrs. Calvin Baskin Jr. and family, Miss Frank Thomas and family, Mrs. Molly Williams and family, Mr. Willie B. Barnes and family, Mrs. Shirley Jean Taylor and family, Mrs. Evelyn Thomas and family, Mrs. G. London family, Mrs. Eunice Lewis and family, Mrs. Claudia Mae Dawson and family, Mr. and Mrs. Frank Armand and family, Mr. Randall Lango and family, Mrs. Minnie Jewel Duhart and family, Mr. and Mrs. Wayne Anderson and family, Mr. Roger Fields and family, the entire Fields family, Deacon and Mrs. Willie Sutton and family, Mrs. Nanny Lee Burks and family, Mr. Tommy Rogers and family, Mr. and Mrs. Willie Lee Taylor Sr. and family, the Crosby family, Deacon Chester Mike Williams and the entire Mike Williams family, Mrs. Maddie Ruth King and family, Deacon and Mrs. Bruce Kendrick and family, Mr. Roger Duhart and family, Mrs. Doris Duhart and family, Miss Dora Lee Adams and family. Our next selection for this morning.
Jesus Christ of Nazareth is the only God they put in the grave, but 3 days later. Oh, go check out the tomb. He ain't there. You can check it out. He ain't there no more. Because he's sitting on the right hand of his Father. So we have a simple song we sing that says, I searched all over, couldn't find nobody. I searched high and low, I still couldn't find nobody. Nobody greater, yes sir. Nobody greater, nobody greater than you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my, I searched all over, couldn't find nobody. Listen, I searched high and low, I still couldn't find nobody. Hallelujah. Nobody greater, nobody greater, nobody greater than you. Help me say, y'all. I searched all over, couldn't find nobody. Searched high and low, still couldn't find nobody greater. Nobody greater. Nobody greater. Nobody greater.
It is certainly with the deepest regret that we make the following announcements. Minister Niall Eugene Yerby Sr., age 57, of 114 Melody Lane, Americus, Georgia, died Monday, March 3rd, at the Phoebe Sumter Medical Center in Americus, Georgia. The funeral service for Minister Niall Eugene Yerby Sr., age 57, will be held today, Sunday, March 9th, at 1 p.m. in the sanctuary of the Americus Holiness Deliverance Temple in Americus, Georgia. The pastor, Reverend Michael L. Fowler Sr., will officiate. The burial will follow at the Eastview Cemetery in Americus, Georgia. Mr. Lee Arthur Everett, age 65, of 313 West 22nd Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Saturday, February 22nd, at his residence in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Lee Arthur Everett, age 65, will be held today, Sunday, March 9th, at 4 p.m. in the chapel of the Jwwilliams Funeral Home in Cordele, Georgia. The Reverend Isaac H. Owens, pastor of the Mount Calvary Baptist Church, will officiate. Miss Benita Lynn Cross, age 64, of 412 West 19th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Sunday, March 2nd, at her residence in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Miss Benita Lynn Cross, age 64, will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangements. Deacon Charles Clark, age 62, of 143 Russell Street, Warwick, Georgia, died late Saturday night, March 8th, at the Phoebe Putnam Memorial Hospital in Albany, Georgia. The funeral service for Deacon Charles Clark, age 62, of 143 Russell Street, Warwick, Georgia, will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangements. The Jwwilliams funeral directors serving Cordele and Vienna are in charge of each of these arrangements during this week. Our next and final selection for this morning is dedicated to the bereaved families whose loved ones were laid to rest during the past week. The family, Mr. Roderick Terrell Chambliss Sr. of Cordele, Georgia. The family, Miss Jana Denise Leggett of Vienna, Georgia. This selection is dedicated to the bereaved families whose loved ones will be laid to rest during this week. The family, Mr. Roderick. The family of Minister Niall Eugene Yerby Sr. of Americus, Georgia. The family of Mr. Lee Arthur Everett of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Miss Benita Lynn Cross of Cordele, Georgia. And the family of Deacon Charles Clark of Warwick, Georgia. This selection is dedicated to all sick and shut-in, to the patients in the local and surrounding hospitals, nursing homes, and rehabilitation centers, to our beloved ministers and their devoted family members, to all retired educators, to the men and women serving in our armed forces, both stateside and abroad, to all veterans, and to everyone who listens to our program on each Sunday morning. It's a pleasure for us to bring it to you. Our program goes out in memory of our past president, Dr. Napoleon Williams, my wife, Mrs. Calandra Wickerson Parker, And to my son, John Wilkerson Parker, they of all of us remember her beloved mother, Mrs. Billy Ann Hall, who departed this life March 6, 2024, gone but not forgotten. Our selection this morning goes out to my brother, retired Chief Master Sergeant Norman F. Dexter, and his wife, Dr. Gwendolyn Maxine Dexter, and their grandson, Noble. To my sister, Mrs. Patsy Jackson, and her husband, Mr. Jim Jackson, of Cordele, Georgia. This selection goes out to my niece, Mrs. Vera Mathis, of Cordele, Georgia, and goes out to Mrs. Florine Muntfred Manning and family, the entire Muntfred family. Deacon and Mrs. Sam Muntfred and family. Goes out to my nephew, Deacon Kenneth Smith, program chairman of the Greater Morris Tabernacle Baptist Church. Goes out to our pastor, Dr. K.M. Williams and his wife, Sister Kathy Williams and family. The selection goes out to Mr. Leon Hawkins and family, his beloved mother, Mother Melan Hawkins, and the entire Hawkins family. The selection goes out to our beloved Miss Easter May Sanders, goes out to our friend and brother, long-standing, the Reverend Johnny Dean, pastor of the New Poplar Springs Baptist Church of Byronville, Georgia. Goes out to our dear brother, Deacon Jimmy Charles Muntfred, chairman of the Board of Deacons of the Crossroad Baptist Church. Goes out to his pastor, the Reverend Nelson Maynard, and the entire Maynard and Harvey family. Our selection this morning goes out to Mr. Cleveland R. Lemon, oldest staff member of the Jwwilliams Funeral Home. Goes out to Miss Geraldine Harvey and family, Mr. Roscoe Applin and family, Mr. and Mrs. Willie Frank Collier and family, Mr. Gus Williams and family, Mother Jessie Kate Harmon and family, Mrs. Marion Felton and family, Deacon Lonnie Hollerbrook and family, Miss Verdell Butts and family, Mr. James Grant and family, Mrs. Katrina Grant and family, Mrs. Debbie Reed and family, Mrs. Stephanie Grant and family. To the children of the late Mother Grace Patrick, Mr. and Mrs. Jimmy Passmore and family, Mr. and Mrs. Keith Bryan and family, Mrs. Denise Walker and family, the Eddie Hester family of Pineview, Georgia, Miss Joanne Kerr and family, Mr. and Mrs. Joshua Woodson and family, the Reverend Willie Earl Lockett and family, and Mrs. Helen Lockett and family of Albany, Georgia, Deacon Earl Lockett and family, Mr. and Mrs. Bernice Smith and family, Chairman Deacon Sammy McGill and family, Mr. and Mrs. Deacon and Mrs. Charles Glenn and family, Deacon and Mrs. Charlie Westbrook and family, the family of the late Mother Cornelius Jackson, Mr. and Mrs. Dwight Timmons and family, Miss Sue James and family, the Reverend Joe Lee Butts and family, Mrs. Joanne Atkins and family, Mrs. Faustine Carruthers and family, Mrs. Linda Wilson and family, Mrs. Donald Cobb and family, the Reverend Jimmy Felton and the entire Felton family, Mrs. China Ezel and family, and the staff of BJ's Diner, Mrs. Willie Shivers and family, Mrs. Marion Golfin and family, Deacon Michael Morgan and family, to the family of the late Deacon Henry King of the Gethsemane Baptist Church, Miss Wilhelmina Williams and family, Deacon and Mrs. Otis Blanks and family, Mrs. James Russell Burnell and family. Our final selection for this Sunday morning, the second Sunday in March 2025. God bless each of you.
Oh, you know that.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We hope you've enjoyed our program. Tune in again on next Sunday morning. And remember, in your time of need, contact the competent, capable, and dependable staff at the Jwwilliams Funeral Home.